I'm here today with Keith Reynold Jennings, one of the contributors to How to Heal Our Divides, An Abundance of Opportunities, which is the second in our How to Heal Our Divides series. Keith serves as Vice President of Community Impact for Jackson Healthcare in Atlanta. In this role, he's responsible for the organization's multifaceted charitable outreach, from deepening external partnerships to maximizing associate engagement in community service efforts. Jackson Healthcare is a national partner of 3DE Schools, which is the subject of Keith's chapter in the book, and we're going to talk more about that in a moment. You can visit keithjennings.com and jacksonhealthcare.com/lovelifts to learn more about Keith and his work. So Keith, thanks so much for joining us, and thanks so much for all of your work, including what you did to contribute to our book.
Absolute privilege and pleasure to be a part of this. Thank you for everything you've done to bring this to the world.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I guess I should also say that Keith was introduced to me by our mutual friend, Mark Schaefer, who is the author of basically all of the best online marketing books that have ever been written. I'm only exaggerating slightly. His latest one is called Cumulative Advantage, but he has other books called The Content Code, The Tao of Twitter,
Marketing Rebellion.
Marketing Rebellion. Yeah, I mean, Mark is just a prolific and author and just incredibly good guy, and really wonderful in sharing his knowledge and insights through those books. But Keith had actually written a few guest articles on Mark's blog, and there was one on servant leadership. I think was the first one that captured my attention, and became familiar with Keith and what he does. But then in Mark's book, Cumulative Advantage, he talks about 3DE schools. And when I read that, I thought, okay, that looks like a really good candidate for, inclusion in our next How to Heal Our Divides book. So there we go. That's how Keith and I got connected for this. But sorry for that long digression, but I thought it was important really just to say how this came about, and also the power of networking and the speed of trust.
Perfectly said. Yeah.
Those are just.
I feel like we've become friends out of this, so I don't see it. I see a relationship beyond this book project.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yet again, just like so many other cases, we've never met in person.
Exactly.
But yeah, we're collaborating left and right. So I just think that that's a thrilling phenomenon that is really, quite frankly, increased quite a bit over the pandemic.
Absolutely. And we got to meet sometime. So we
will.
got to fix that in the near future.
It'll happen. I'm doing a writing conference in Atlanta next March.
Great. All right.
There you go.
All right.
Anyway, enough of all that. I mean, Keith, please tell us about your work, first of all, at Jackson.
Absolutely. Jackson Healthcare is it's a family of staffing and search and technology companies in the healthcare space. So our businesses primarily serve hospitals, health systems, clinics, and the like in all 50 states. But where I serve kind of within the enterprise is on the community impact, social responsibility side. So the Jackson family has a private family foundation that does a lot of funding and is heavily involved in a lot of globally focused work in ministries and projects. And then I, within Jackson Healthcare, look at the U.S. and in our case specifically where our businesses are located, which is Georgia, Florida, Massachusetts, Michigan, Washington. So we've got businesses kind of spread out. So a lot of what I'm doing is looking at how do we partner with organizations to solve one of two problems. How can we improve the delivery of patient care for people in this country that don't have access to that care? And we do this beyond the business side. So fortunately, as a healthcare business, we naturally get we feel like we get to do very important work through our businesses. But beyond that, how can we partner with organizations to bring telemedicine to people, locally and in the world or something like that. And then the other side is how do we partner with organizations to improve the well-being of young people? And that's kind of what led to this chapter, which is we're looking to connect with kids like our founder. And our founder actually grew up in Atlanta, was a foster kid in the foster care system his whole life and has just become a great success story. But a lot of the core values that our organization has are kind of family values, which is how do we take care of one another? How do we put others first? How do we help each other get better? How do we do things that have a long-term vision rather than just a short-term vision? And so we're looking to partner with organizations that serve kids and healthcare organizations to help them be able to have that impact, through the work they're doing. So that's what I get to wake up and focus on and get to do every day, which is a privilege. I will say that.
No, I can totally see that in lots of different ways. A lot of large companies have got philanthropic arms.
Right.
But your efforts seem to me much more hands-on and proactive.
Correct.
Than many that I see.
That's it. We call it the 4 Ps, people, programming, philanthropy, and partnerships. And we really think of these in kind of big P terms. So, like you're saying, a lot of businesses do volunteerism, which is a core part of kind of our people area. But we try to just be as relational as possible, as hands-on as possible. And in doing that, we're really being careful to partner in ways, it's called help without hurting. We're really trying to partner in ways that don't put a burden on these small nonprofits. And we're trying to come alongside them in ways that both build them up and their team, as well as those they're trying to serve. And we try to stay out of the way of kind of the important work that's going on. So that relational aspect of what we do is key for me to be able to be out in the field as much as possible, with eyes on the ground, listening more than anything else. So we're really trying to activate through those 4 Ps, and where we see opportunities, we jump fast.
Very cool. So tell folks about 3DE if you could, kind of the
Yes.
story of that organization and then how you all got involved in it.
It's fantastic. And it's, for us, 3DE Schools actually started out, I may be using the wrong language, but as kind of an incubator program within Junior Achievement of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was called JA Academy. And so, years ago, I remember our president, Shane Jackson, was serving on the board of Junior Achievement of Georgia, and obviously was very familiar with JA Academy and the vision of what they were doing. And I want to say there were only 2 to 3 schools in at that time with the prototype of what they were doing. One of those schools was Banneker High School, which is featured in the chapter in the book. But I actually was invited out to Norcross High School in kind of northeast Atlanta. And to come in and spend a day kind of telling the students about our business. And then I gave them a case challenge. So it started out as give them a problem your business is trying to solve but hasn't solved yet. And let's let student teams kind of go do some research and workshop this and kind of like Shark Tank. Yeah. Then the teams would come back and they would pitch some of our business leaders their ideas, and we'd pick a winner. And there's no grade on the project, but it's really helping them through that process. And the volunteerism aspect in there was I gave them the case challenge. They broke up in teams and started doing this research so they could call in, or we sent in leaders into these teams to just answer questions, right? So it's almost like you had a coach. Each team had access to a coach to kind of ask questions to. Of course, we didn't give them any answers. We just helped them think and kind of frame their thinking. Well, over a couple of years of doing this, you could just see the excitement and enthusiasm in these kids. Like there was just, all I can say is I felt the energy in the room. It wasn't where you were in the classroom and they were leaning in, they were listening, they were asking questions. You could sense the competitive nature in them of, I'm going to solve this problem. Our team's going to win this thing. And that kind of evolved over about 3 years into this spinoff of 3DE Schools, where they really took it to say, it's time this thing's a tried and true model. Let's take it to other states. Let's expand beyond Georgia and take this to other states, which they've done. So our involvement was kind of in the early stages, and we've seen nothing. I mean, there's always, as you know, in a startup, anything, there's fixes and you hit hiccups and you're learning stuff constantly. But this core leadership team's ability to adapt and build this thing in a systemic way where it's scalable without losing its personal touch has just really been impressive. So that's how we got started and then why we're still involved today.
And could you tell folks a little bit about kind of the before and after results of schools that have had the 3DE program?
Yes, indeed. And so to frame this up, I'd like to start with saying that one of the beautiful aspects of the 3DE model is that it's a school within a school, and they partner with high schools, public high schools. They find high schools with that are struggling with, could be graduation rates, attrition, absenteeism, and they partner and kind of create this school within a school where they mirror within the 3DE program the student population of the whole school as a whole. And they're very specific about that and very deliberate and intentional about that. That was one of my early draws because I thought, only kids that opt in are going to be the motivated kids, right? And of course your results are going to look skewed and be successful. They've been very strategic in how they do that. So once they kind of set up that school within a school, these kids go through, 4 years where they start out freshman year learning core business. So they're doing their normal core curriculum for high school. Plus, as far as their electives goes, they're learning business and they're starting to do these case challenges. By junior and senior year, these students are at a level where they're consultants. So they actually partner with businesses and go in as consulting teams to solve real problems for the businesses.
So cool.
And so again,
better than McKinsey.
That's it. It's very similar way. It shows these kids that, first of all, you can figure out things you're not aware you can figure out. You can handle things that adults are handling, and you have a voice at the table. So you're going to see that you have ideas that business leaders may have been blind to or not have seen or just haven't thought of based on your vantage point and your experience. And when they start to see that, like, we as businesses are like, that's a fantastic idea that we've never thought of, and we're actually gonna really look at doing this. You can just see the excitement to where it's not book knowledge, it's not kind of abstract theoretical stuff. They're actually seeing that what I'm learning is applicable in a real world situation and that my voice is valued. And so that's kind of a fast overhaul to say that's the beauty of kind of how this model set up. And we've seen in every case so far, we've seen increased graduation rates, decreased attrition rates, dropout over the course of high school, and significant decrease in absenteeism. Mm-hmm. I mean, so to me, it's those kinds of metrics that are proven to us that the model seems consistent in its outcomes.
Exactly, because I mean, the starting point of some of the schools I know that before they were in the program was pretty difficult.
Exactly.
Challenging locations, and the results look much different.
Right. Exactly.
So for folks that either are close to a 3DE school, mm-hmm. or for folks that are nowhere near one, do you have any suggestions on how they could get involved with that program?
Oh, 100%. And I think, and I think we've got the resources out there, but, go to 3DE Schools website, which is just 3deschools.org, and read up. From there, you can see where they currently are. If you're in an area where 3DE has a partnership with a high school, if you are a business person like us, local business, I would encourage you to reach out, raise your hand, and opt in as a case challenge partner, and just get involved with the school. Start sending some of your teams in there, and roll up your sleeves, and you'll learn as much or more than these students ever will, observing the model in action. So if you're not in an area, where 3DE has a presence, if you're able and willing to travel to go take a look at one of these, I would certainly encourage you to do that, whether you're part of a school system or part of business community, or just a curious innovator wanting to make an impact in a community. So I'd recommend doing that. But I think the start is kind of I'd always say start just by listening and learning. So get on the phone with a 3DE staff member. They would love to set up a phone call to teach more and talk more about this.
So what would be the one thing, from the essay that you wrote that you'd like people to take away from this?
I think that's a great question, and I've got multiple answers.
It's okay. That's okay.
We're not going to do the multiple answers. I think a key thing is to understand that the education system and the school system is extremely complex with a lot of dynamics and a lot of players at play, much like society. And so overnight change, though possible, is not something to be distracted by. That really there are models, and 3DE is one of them. I guarantee you there are others, but there are models out there that are generally achieving results with students. They're generally getting to students who may not have either the family infrastructure to support or empower success, or a community or systemic support that will give them chances and opportunities. But these models bring those opportunities to certain students at a very critical time, a very critical age. And I just think that why not look for these kinds of models and at least try something to give kids an opportunity to say, I can be an entrepreneur, or I could go to college, or I could do trade school. There is a path for me after high school, and it's not necessarily it's one I can create. It's one that I have agency and control in. And I think if anyone takes anything away from the chapter, it's that we have a responsibility, I believe, to do our best to enable and empower those kinds of opportunities and connections with these students.
Amen. Amen. So what about for you? What's next? I know you're very entrepreneurial, always looking to do something new.
Yeah.
Is there anything on the horizon that you can talk about?
I can honestly say I'm one of the lucky ones that I absolutely love. I work in a big business, but I absolutely love where I work. I love the people I get to work with. It's very personal to me, at this point. It's not just about the business anymore. And so, my visions are looking, for ways to continue to activate our associate base. We have 1,700 associates nationally, and we're growing quickly. How I'm actually producing a podcast and a video series for our associates, but it could be for anybody, and we're going to share it far and wide. But answering the question, how can we become more generous as human beings? How can we become more generous as individuals, as businesses, as teams? And what exactly is generosity? What's the science of generosity? Are there ways we're generous that cause harm to people? And so I'm working on a project over this summer that will be launching this fall for our associate base and anyone else that's interested, to really explore those questions of, can we get to a point where we stop thinking about giving back, which there's nothing wrong with that, and we start thinking about generosity as a broader whole.
Awesome. Well, please keep me posted on that.
Yes,
the science of generosity.
Yeah.
I would love to learn more about that.
Yeah, the science. As I've been digging into the experts on this stuff, it is fascinating. So there's going to be some good stories there, I hope.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, Keith, thank you again so much, for all your work and for your contributions to this project.
It's been a blessing.
As I said, you can learn more about Keith at keithjennings.com. You can go to jacksonhealthcare.com/lovelifts. And of course, you can hear about all of the How to Heal Our Divides efforts at howtohealourdivides.com. So Keith, thank you again. So great to work with you.
I appreciate you, Brian. Thank you so much.